A lot of criticism of India's approach in the recent ICC tournaments has been that we are not aggressive enough at the start, right? We play a safe game, we build an innings, build a platform, and then go big in the end. But I am really impressed by Rohit's approach, and he goes in such a smooth flow. You don't even feel like he'll get out, right? You don't even feel like, okay, he's taking a risk, but he might get out. When he gets out, in fact, you're surprised. Oh my god, he was
Oh,
timing the ball so well. How did he
I
get
feel
out?
he's
Getting
getting
too
too.
preoccupied with the short ball.
On Indian pitches, he's definitely overcome it. If you see, he's
Hmm.
playing the short ball well in terms of
Hmm.
getting boundaries and sixes. I think somewhere the ego needs to be taken out of it. He just needs to, maneuver it, take a single, pat it down, or leave it. In fact, because run rate
Hmm.
is not an issue till now. So yeah, he needs to stop throwing away these starts, because if there's any question mark on anybody's place, unfortunately, it is this guy as of today's lineup. If we have to get Surya in
Sachin
later,
has
has 49
40.
centuries in 452 innings, and Virat has 48 centuries in 273 innings.
Almost half, right? Almost
Almost
half.
half,
Yeah.
and this guy has now around 200 innings to cross that, and he nearly equaled it. That six, that ball was in the slot. वो bat घूम गया अंदर से, वो catch हो
Correct.
गया. Otherwise, that was a
From the
six also.
preview shows, right? That
So,
India needs to be brave. If you want to be a world champion, you need to be brave. You can't have bits and pieces players playing, right? It almost felt like India was playing with 10 players. So I'm glad this injury kind of tied their hands
worked out.
to,
Yeah, yeah.
get in Shami, and now it should be logically it should be a
Hmm.
straight swap. Hardik
Sham.
comes in for Surya, and you keep the
Hmm.
rest of the team as is. Ashwin comes in when there is
Spinning conditions.
spinning World Cup has shown is this is a World Cup of specialists, right? Both
Yeah.
Australia and England have brought in so many all-rounders, and the all-rounders are actually struggling. It's the
Hmm.
specialists who are doing well. So England has to take a big call. The way things stand, I think we'll have to be brutal enough to say England is knocked out, right? What is Hello, all, and welcome to a new video on the Third Men Musings. Well, what a match we had yesterday between India and New Zealand. It was a top billing match, of course, between the two top place sides so far in the World Cup, and it certainly delivered. And India finally have now got the monkey off their back. Do remember, after 20 years, India has now won a match against New Zealand in an ICC tournament. The last victory coming way back in 2003 in the World Cup in South Africa. So big match for us. Somehow it soothed the pain that we had in the 2019 World Cup semi-final, but still a long way to go in the tournament. So we'll discuss that and a lot of interesting things in our podcast today. But before we do that deep dive, Sumit, your initial thoughts? Did this match between these two heavyweights live up to the hype that all of us expected?
Yeah, before the match, you said soothe the pain. It did to a degree, but if we meet New Zealand again in the semis, I think if we beat them in a knockout, that's when it's going to be like proper badla.
Hmm.
Otherwise, yeah. Yesterday, I'll be very honest, I was very open about losing also, because there's a thing called about peaking too early, and this Indian team is playing like way better than we expected ever, right? It's 5 out of 5. Never imagined that or seen that till date in any World Cup, I feel. So they look like the Giants, and everything is working perfectly as it can, right? So, in terms of this match, ironically, the closest match of the World Cup, I can say, because everything has been getting over 15 overs before, 10 overs before. Here it got over 2 overs before, and I think one of the reasons the tension came was when the fifth wicket fell of Surya's unfortunate run out. Then I think there was this tension that okay, we don't have that extra batter today, so we have to play a bit slowly. And Kohli then took it on himself as usual to ace the chase. So a very competitive match, and full credit to New Zealand for fighting back multiple times in the match. I loved Latham's captaincy in terms of his bowling changes. He kept the pressure on, and very rarely he got any loose bowlers in. The attacking option was always preferred, and even the Glenn Phillips option was a good one, I think, because Jadeja was there. It's just that then Kohli went and hit a boundary and that failed. That was
Right.
a very astute piece of captaincy to just, change things around. So we'll start with New Zealand's batting, because one thing again I don't like is we keep chasing. I think it's 5 out of 5. We'll discuss in the future, but I think India needs to start batting first. I think it's enough chasing, and we don't want to be in a situation we directly land up in a first time batting first in a knockout. So the New Zealand batting started off to a rocky start. Brilliant bowling by the bowlers, and I think playing Shami then showed the value, because now you had three pronged pace attack, and people could change things around, and all three are different type of fast bowlers. So they really struggled in the first 10, 12 overs. So How excited were you to see Shami? I think you've been banking on him for
Yeah, I
ages
was
now.
waiting. I was waiting, right? Because all of us rate Shami so much, right? Because he's a guy who genuinely goes for wickets. He's not a bowler who tries to, contain batsmen. He always goes for wickets. I was really excited, and he got a wicket off his very first ball, right? He got young.
Young.
And Indian bowlers were so disciplined in the first 10 overs, right? I think first 8 overs it was 19 for 2, I think. And the planning they did for Conway also, they realized that he flicks a
Yeah.
little bit in the air, right? So they got a fielder there. Very good planning, and even Ravindra and Mitchell for a large part of the innings couldn't get the amount of runs that they wanted, right? Of course, later once they got settled, I think they started getting runs, but they just couldn't get away. So I think again, people talk about India's batting, but it's the bowling which is really carrying India so far in the tournament. So hope to see that golden run going into the knockout stage as well.
And typically in the World Cup, we are seeing how teams are starting so well, but after 30 overs, things go haywire. Partly because the pitch becomes slower, the ball becomes older, and that's where I think there was a stat yesterday that India are really killer in the middle overs, and that's why no team is really making as many runs as we think they should be making. So even yesterday, I think they didn't take so many wickets, but then Shami came and he got those breakthroughs, and after that, a target which should have been 300, 320 landed up around 270. So all credit to Shami for taking those 5 wickets and ably supported by everybody. We saw how important Hardik is yesterday, by the way, because Kuldeep was going for runs, and it would have been nice to have some 2, 3 overs here and there of buffer.
Correct.
So
Unfortunately, we didn't have any backup yesterday.
yeah, and I don't know Rohit Sharma was bowling in the nets, so don't know where is he being a mystery bowler. Will he come later? And Kohli bowled decently those 3 balls. You remember, right? Like that action always like
Yeah.
makes me laugh. But
Chris Harris. For
Chris
all
Harris,
those 90s fans, 90s kids, you will
yeah,
remember Chris Harris with
yeah.
that.
And people get inspired by like Stain, Magra, Wasim Akram. This guy got inspired by Chris Harris.
Whose
I mean,
ball
yeah,
never arrived.
he's Rajat Bhatia's brother
Yeah.
from New Zealand. So both cases the ball doesn't arrive.
Yeah.
So God knows how Kohli got inspired by Chris Harris's bowling action of all people. One question I think somebody someday should ask him.
Yeah.
So the batting, the bowling was a good performance, and considering the pitch and the conditions, 270 was subpar as per me. And then we go on
Definitely. Yeah.
to India's batting, and this again, this new hitman Sharma, and he has a very different role. It's a pinch hitter, opener, and Rohit Sharma doing that is something incredible. But I really like this approach. And do you see any flaw in this approach where he is going gung ho and Shuman is the anchor?
Yeah.
So you see
No, no,
any?
I think I agree because a lot of criticism of India's approach in the recent ICC tournaments has been that we are not aggressive enough at the start, right? We play a safe game, we build an innings, build a platform, and then go big in the end. But I am really impressed by Rohit's approach, and he goes in such a smooth flow. You don't even feel like he'll get out, right? You don't even feel like okay, he's taking a risk, but he might get out. When he gets out, in fact, you're surprised. Oh my god, he was
Oh,
timing the ball so well. How did he get out, right? So yesterday also, unfortunately, it was an inside edge. Love the approach. He got off India to a big start, and then once he had set the base, then India just had to milk the bowling to get to the target. So him and Kohli deservedly are the top two right now in the runs standings, at least in the tournament, and showing their big tournament medal.
and Gill also looked $1 million. I think just maybe it's a fitness issue or it's a pressure concern because he wasn't the kind of batsman who used to throw away his stats. He's doing that this World Cup. I'm hoping it gets better. I think he gets fitter as things progress with the whole dengue thing. But he looks very good for whatever time he is. He just needs to like. I think probably it gets confusing, right? Because Rohit's rule is clear that he'll hit till he gets out. Then it's Shuman and Kohli, and I really think that conversation between to कैसे होता होगा कि कौन मारेगा because कोहली इज कोहली राइट लाइक मैं तो
Correct.
सिंगल सिंगल लेके एंड में मारूंगा एंड गिल भी वैसे ही है सो आई रियली डोंट नो हु टेक मे बी दैट्स वेयर गिल हैज टू बी द अग्रेसर बिकॉज़
Aggressor, right?
he
That's a
cannot
good
tell
point.
Kohli, he cannot tell Kohli कि तुम मारो मैं एंड तक रहूंगा so that won't work out for him if he
Yeah.
wants to stay in this team or the country actually so उसका बहुत होगा so Gale fine and then Iyer came in Arun Iyer का भी same issue he looks $1 million not able to convert those and then the fog storm happened I mean whatever you call it like this
Yeah.
desert storm Fog aa gaya. For
And
once in a
everybody
life.
started getting worried because only 15 overs had happened, right?
Yeah,
Imagine if
15
the
was.
fog had stayed and the players had gone off the field.
They
So
had.
if the fog had stayed like that, they couldn't have come back on. So everybody was like, please, 20 overs, just get over so that we can win on Duckworth Lewis then.
Yeah.
So
Never ever heard a match abandoned due to fog.
never, never, never.
So
At
that
least
would
by
have been the
fog,
first.
never. Yeah.
So we were cruising by then, and Ayer was just caressing the boundaries left, right, center. It looked all in place for another 50 or 60, right? And then he comes back. Then again, innocuous short ball gets out, and
Do you feel he's getting too preoccupied with the short ball? I mean, yesterday I remember he hit a couple of really good pull shots for fours, but do
mhm,
you think it's playing on his mind so much and he feels that, I have
he has
to
to prove.
show to the world that I've now overcome the short ball? Do you feel that's happening?
Yeah, I think on Indian pitches he has definitely overcome it. If you see, he's
Hmm.
playing the short ball well in terms of
Hmm.
getting boundaries and sixes. I think somewhere the ego needs to be like taken out of it. He just needs to, maneuver it, take a single, pat it down, or leave it. In fact, because run rate is
Hmm.
not an issue till now. So yeah, needs to stop throwing away these starts, because if there's any question mark on anybody's place, unfortunately, it is this guy as of today's lineup. If we have to get Surya in later, so he'll get more chances, I'm sure, because he's rated very highly by the team. So let's see how he progresses. And after that, Rahul was again looking a million bucks, and I don't. That was out, right? So there's a 3 meter rule for
Correct.
LBWs, and he was
Correct.
2.96,
2.89. Yeah, 2.89
2.89.
meters. Yeah.
So that was just like luck. You aage aake.
Yeah.
I mean, that was credit to
Yeah.
Sankar actually, because he kept
Correct.
looping. The way he loops the ball, I'm very surprised nobody goes and tries to murder him. But he's like next level. I mean, I'm really impressed by him this World Cup, because I'm seeing him properly this time. Normally CSK में उसको खिलाते ही नहीं है, वो दिखता ही नहीं है, so I don't see the quality. So he bamboozled Rahul there. Otherwise, it would have been a Rahul and Kohli chase
Yeah,
again.
it looked like India would win by 7 wickets, right? And I think it had something to do with the drinks break before that, also, right? There was a laser show in the drinks break, so there was
अच्छा,
a little
हाँ,
bit of a break. Maybe that caused a little dip in
the concentration
concentration.
lapse.
But Rahul, I think, is looking so compact, right? He
Mm,
doesn't even look like getting out. Just an aberration yesterday. Credit to Santon and
Sanders.
Latham there, yeah.
Definitely. And then Surya comes in, and we are thinking, well, this is his chance to, at least put his name in the hat and say, okay, maybe who, and maybe later on when Pandey comes in, there is going to be talk about Surya versus Iyer. So poor guy got run out. I'm still not sure who was at fault. I think it's both. I think it's because Virat also ran a bit. So when
Yeah,
he
then
just
he
ran,
bailed out, yeah.
then he bailed out. So it was never a single to start with. I think you weren't in that state, right, to run those risky singles. If the fielder is diving, you wait for it. I don't know why Surya also
Hmm.
ran, then Virat also ran,
Correct.
and then they stopped. But common sense prevailed. Surya said, "ठीक है, मैं out हो जाता हूँ." Let Kohli continue. Again, one of the things, understood
Yeah.
things in life. So then Kohli Jadeja, that's the time we got a bit tense, because now we were missing our number 8, right? So you're thinking up Jadeja and him, and perfect opportunity for Jadeja, because this guy has not been really batting. Bowling has been fabulous, but he hasn't shown any role with the bat. Chance ही नहीं मिला, and whatever chance he gets, by then it's too late also.
Right.
Perfect, and I think he took his chances. I mean, we cannot grudge him that, no matter how it was a bit slow, but yeah, perfect foil to Kohli, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he had a point to prove because he dropped a catch earlier in the day
Oh
also,
yeah, very
right?
simple one.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, in fact, if he had caught that, New Zealand would have been 40 for 3, and maybe we would have been chasing a lesser score. So, he had that, plus he's candidly, said in the recent past that he wants to contribute with the bat, right? Because
Mm,
his bowling and fielding is top notch, but his batting wasn't coming to the party.
mm,
So, I think India really ticked a big box there. I mean, all of us as Indian fans, we know Rohit's knock was key, Virat's knock was key, but I think both of us would agree that Jadeja's knock was most important from a future perspective, right? Coming into the big matches.
mm.
So that was a good one, and that Kohli Jadeja partnership really ensured that we didn't stutter at the end yesterday.
And to wrap up, I think we'll just talk about the king himself. So last time also we didn't talk much because we take brilliance for granted at times because it's just so regular. But when you see those numbers, they pop out and they hit you. So Sachin has 49 centuries in 452 innings, and Virat has 48 centuries in 273 innings.
Almost half, right? Almost
Almost
half.
half,
Yeah.
and this guy has now around 200 innings to cross that, and he nearly equaled it. That six, that ball was in the slot, वो bat घूम गया अंदर से, वो catch हो
Correct.
गया. Otherwise, that was a six also. It would have been 49 for him. So the 48 centuries, 270 innings. an average of nearly every 5 innings. I mean, less than that even, but on an average, 4 to 5 innings, you're getting one century from this guy. So a legend in every sense. And to imagine for 3 years he didn't play, like half of it was COVID driven and half of it was bad form.
Yeah.
Nito, he would have been in some other orbit altogether. And yeah, then Sachin's 100 centuries would have definitely been a risk. I still think it's 50-50. Seeing this
Yeah.
Kohli 2.0, where he's back with the bang. So just the way he runs and this uh, कैसे कहते हैं book cricket type he plays at
Mm.
the end, right? And you could see the maturity where the team was first for him. He didn't play for the century like the previous innings because that match was wrapped up. So this was a
Yeah.
tighter match. He couldn't have taken chances. And end with the 10 run baje the, that's 16 runs baje the, I remember when he hit that bolt uh,
Yeah.
pull for a six, right? That's when it started. कि ठीक है, अब
Correct.
I'll go for because the match was done. I think
Correct.
if India lost 4 wickets for 10 runs, then Chardon would have been needed. We would have gone for that argument again.
Yeah.
But luckily, that didn't happen. And
Yeah.
it was just he ran that double in his 90s. जो square के अंदर ही circle के अंदर ball थी, just tapped it and ran to like a gazelle.
Amazing, amazing
So the
fitness. Yeah.
fitness, the commitment, and no words will justify it. It's just that we just take it for granted. I really think in the sense कि ये तो कर ही देगा because when he's there, you're just sure. It's like when Dhoni was at the end for finishing, कुछ ना कुछ हो जाएगा. But Kohli
Correct.
brings that safety space for us that no matter what, and the batsman on the other end also I think responds to it. कि Kohli
Correct.
है तो हो जाएगा. So you have anything else to say on that
No,
innings?
yeah, credit to him because if you remember the first 40 balls that he faced, I think he was around 25, 26. He
हाँ.
wasn't fluently playing that time, right? Because Santner and Ravindra, what they were doing is going around the wicket and they had a short cover and they were trying to make him drive there, right? And he was
Mm-hmm.
not getting the singles. But I think once he hit that 6 over extra cover to Ravindra, I think that's when the shackles, unloosened and he then started scoring freely. So it wasn't a very fluent knock at the start, but I think the last 50 or 60 balls, he really then turned a gear and turned it into match winning knock for India. So I think credit to him for riding out that tough phase.
Yeah, yeah. Which earlier used to struggle with spin. Again, against spinners, you can see a bit of weakness still, but he's overcome that. Now he manages that with his singles and rotation or strike. One special shot I remember from this was Matt Henry bowling. He comes down the pitch and covers it.
Yeah,
That was like next level of class, elegance, and brute force. Everything was in that shot. That pretty much summed up how much dominance this guy had on that uh, game in general. So yeah, people 10 साल हो गए and we still talking about Kohli during chases. I think that's one of the good things and the concerns. Ki there is
yeah.
somebody who needs to step up from the next generation, which is Gale, Iyer, and all.
Gill, yeah.
So they cannot leave it on him always because he will also the odds won't favor him,
Yeah.
right? So let's hope we get these youngsters to fire with him alongside. So yeah, I think we are 5 out of 5. Best case scenario, definitely qualifying as one. I feel now instead of two, and looking at the road ahead for some teams, we'll just discuss in general the results that happened during the week. So starting with India, I think the number 8 question got answered today. In the sense, Shami just gave some finger to the selectors, showing so,
Yeah.
so
And he
he's
looked
like
so pumped, right? After he took that 5 wicket
he's
haul, he
very
was like,
angry.
yeah,
Yeah,
it almost looked like he would, uproot a stump and throw it somewhere. So, but credit to him. And both of us have been talking about it from a long time. In fact, from the previous shows, right? That India needs to be brave. If you want to be a world champion, you need to be brave. You can't have bits and pieces players playing, right? It almost felt like India was playing with 10 players. So I'm glad this injury kind of tied their hands
worked out.
to,
Yeah, yeah.
get in Shami. And now it should be logically, it should be a
Hmm.
straight swap. Hardik comes in for Surya, and you keep the rest of the team as is. Ashwin comes in when there is
Spinning condition.
spinning wickets, like Lucknow against England, or South Africa in Kolkata. So, and if we face Pakistan in the semis in Chennai, right? But other than that, it should just be Ashwin and Shami who should be rotating.
Swapping
This
around.
should be the end for Shardul. Nothing against the guy, but for us, India's World Cup interests are at
Most
heart.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a crazy stat about this was reading about this. So I wrote it down also. So this guy's got 36 wickets and an average of 15. And he started his World Cup journey from 2015 World Cup. And this is pretty much his last World Cup. The top Indian wicket taker are Srinath and Zach with 44 wickets. So he has like 8 wickets to go. And I'm sure if he plays the entire World Cup, he's going to cross that in 3 World Cups only with the crazy ass average, and he's like the only second bowler after Mitchell Stark to have two fifers in the World Cup history.
Hmm.
Stark has three. So with
Right.
those numbers, I really think the Indian team management not that blind. Also, I have a feeling because of the age and because they wanted to probably pump him up by dropping him, light that fire under his belly. Maybe it's a management technique.
I hope that's the rationale.
I I hope. And because Hardik's injury wasn't predicted, right? That's the most. I
Yeah,
mean, uski back hurt हो जाती, that's Hardik, but that injury was
correct.
very freak. The way he just landed on his ankle. So now there's no doubt. I hope to God. Now the only thing, reason I see it is like so every weekend we have a match going forward,
Hmm.
except the last week where Sri Lanka will be in a midweek and then Netherlands on Sunday. I expect now some rotations to happen. Probably play a full strength side against South Africa as well because we need to make a point to those them as well who are the other contenders besides New Zealand. After that, yeah, you can rotate, play Shami every match and rotate Bumrah or Siraj. Because I think with
Hmm.
Shami, you can just see Siraj struggling at times. Siraj has this weird habit, right? Both these magical balls, but then he gets murdered also at times with some weird logic bowling. So
Correct.
we do need Shami, and his death bowling, the Yorkers were very special yesterday.
Hmm.
So I think
And he got
that
the ball to reverse swing also yesterday, right? That was brilliant to see. I think Siraj somewhere a great new ball bowler, but not exactly a reverse swing expert, right? So Shami brings in that facet also
mm,
to the Indian bowling attack. And Bumrah has been phenomenal, right? I mean, he may not be topping the
yeah,
wickets chart right now. He's
it doesn't
on
go
the
for
top
runs.
five, but
Uh,
every match there's not been a match where he's been taken apart, right? And he's
Definitely.
really, really holding the Indian attack together. True leader of the pack so far.
Definitely. And pitch doesn't matter to him. Swing nahi hai, seam nahi hai, kuch nahi hai, doesn't matter. He extracts something. He bends his back and gets that bounce and the
Correct.
variations he has.
Correct.
So all good here. I think number eight, Shami came out to bat at number eight also to prove a point. And he hit a very nice glance and
Yeah.
took a single. So,
Classical.
not his Lapeda behavior.
Yeah.
So,
Ranjit Singh
uh,
ji would have been proud of that glance.
so I think ho gaya. I think good time to get this selection in right at the middle of the tournament. And Surya versus Iyer is going to be something I'll always wonder about because imagining Surya at four with four fielders inside is four fielders outside the circle. I think can go. And with Kohli batting on the other end, think about the upper ceiling. There's no upper ceiling on that partnership, right? So I just think on those terms. But I know Iyer will get a go. But if he doesn't convert, and I think Surya should get more chances just to keep him ready in case we need him to play at four. So India, I think selection wise, it's all sorted, and these combinations
Yeah.
seem feasible. So we'll jump to the next team. What they did. So Pakistan again, our favorite, second favorite side, I guess. So we predicted that, and sadly we were right in terms of they had two matches wins qualifiers, and then they got two big matches. India we discussed in detail, and Australia match was very interesting because uh, crazy wicket and lot of runs on that wicket, and I think Australia should have made 400. They ended up with
Yeah.
370, and still Pakistan. It looked feasible as a chase, but they lost out with the approach they followed. So they still have Afghanistan. I think that should be interesting match in Chennai, and then they have South Africa. So those next two matches will determine where they land up in the tournament. If they win one out of them or two, and if they win two out of two, then I think they'll be back in the mix. But if they lose even one, then it becomes a bit difficult. Do you see anything changing for them?
See, in terms of the squad, I think there's not much they can play around with, right? Because I
Mm,
think one thing that is clearly, clearly missing for them is a quality spinner, right?
yes.
Every team, I mean, I can even think of Netherlands who has Aryan Dutt, right? Who's a
Yeah.
quality spinner.
Yeah.
Pakistan is the only team which is somehow struggling in the spin department, right? Because both Shadab and Nawaz aren't getting wickets; they're getting tonked. Even they gave, I mean, courageous call. They took Osama Mir for that
Yeah.
match. He had a horrid outing. He dropped the
God.
sitter of Warner and then got murdered. Right, 80 runs in 9 or 10 overs. I don't remember whether he bowled the entire quarter, but 80,
Mm,
80 runs he got it for just one wicket. So that is an area they have to work around. And again, Harris Roff, right? In that
my
match,
God.
Warner was sweeping him for sixes. So
Just
3 overs, 47 runs. So the bowling is in disarray, and you would have never thought. That Pakistan would struggle in its bowling, right? So they have to
mm,
get the bowling right. Fortunately, they were able to, limit the bowling that day, and the batting, right? The batting now that day they had an opening partnership of 130
100 plus.
runs, right?
Mm,
From there they could have really see again, not everybody anticipates that Pakistan would have gone and chased that score, but they should have got close, at least 340, 350. But I think after a point, and I remember both of us were texting at 33 overs, I think they were around 222, which was
That's
still
good.
fair. But
Yeah.
the minute Iftikhar got out, then again you knew there was nobody at the end who could launch against that attack, and he looked pretty good. He hit four sixes, but once he was out and once Rizwan was out, the writing was on the wall again. So again, they're getting themselves into good situations, but because they're not being aggressive, they are
Mm,
losing out eventually. Is what I feel. Yeah.
yes. Coming back to the number three and four, I think they're not aggressive enough. They have all the runs in the world and the numbers speak for themselves. Rizwan is the third highest scorer in the World Cup, shockingly. So that way is but he was like exposed by Zampa, so you could see how he was jumping to the off
Hmm.
stump and मैं leg पे ही मारूंगा and Zampa ने straight ही डाल दिया कि तुम मार ले वहां से and he got LBW plumb clean. And Babar, I don't know why he's struggling so much against spin. Because he doesn't advance, he just wants to hoik it and got caught innocuously. So
Yeah.
both their engine room is a bit slow, and that's a problem. And even the openers, Abdullah Shafiq is very aggressive. Even Imam plays in the Babar Rizwan mode, right? Fours he hai, no six. Abdullah is a
All
good
two, three,
person.
four are innings builders. You need one
Yeah.
more. I mean, ideally, Fakar would have been the best foil for Shafiq, right? But unfortunately, that's also not happening for them.
He has a knee problem. I don't know how, where. At least it's
Like
not a
how the
fever.
fever is trending across squads, I think.
उसको नी में
Yeah.
करवा दिया डिफरेंस करा दिया तो again a team which has like these next two matches will be fun. I think Afghanistan they'll do Naseem
Mm,
is there to do last ball sixes, so let's see इस बार कौन जीतता है. But I think they'll be fine, and
mm.
because the way England has really fell off the cliff, they get there are less teams to vie for the fourth slot, so that way I
Correct.
think their chances brighten up. And
Correct.
coming to one of the other contenders, then we'll jump to the next team, which is South Africa, who uh, pleasantly shock us every game because they lost to the Netherlands of all teams, and then they pulverized all other three big teams with their batting. So this newfound approach, and they have a very simple format. They are playing six batsmen and Jansen as a number seven all rounder, and then four bowlers. They are not caring about the number eight batter. Right? They
Yeah.
play their best bowlers, and 300 just for fun, and they are reaching 400. 300 तो बहुत कम है उनके लिए. So it started in the Australia South Africa series, I think, the aggressive batting. But I'm very pleasantly surprised how aggressive they are. And where do you think this change came up? I mean, like what is different this time over this team?
No, I think this time they're, somehow, whenever you remember South Africa in World Cups, I think somehow they always start getting muddled up in the head, right? But this
Mm,
time, at least, apart from that aberration against Netherlands, the other games, I think they've looked very positive. They've been fearless, right?
yeah,
And that is because they've got those special players. Any team which has, Klassen and Miller in the middle order, can afford to go strong up front. They have Dickok, who's
playing
wonderful
really
in
well.
ODIs.
Mm,
Now the
mm,
catch for them will be, will they continue with Bavuma or Hendricks, who made 85 in the game against England? Will he be brought in? Right, that
mm,
is a tough call. Maybe they'll go ahead with Bavuma for now being the skipper and all
mm.
those things. But if he doesn't perform well in the next few matches, then they
There's a
might
fresh
have to
player.
take a call. But I was very impressed with Jansen's hitting also the
Oh
other
yeah.
day. Right, I mean, I didn't expect him to taunt those youth sixes and stuff. Kudos to him. I think that day they just outmuscled
Mm,
England, right?
mm.
England was
80,
nowhere in the game that day.
85, 90 in the last five because they were like
Yeah.
fine around the 40, 41 over mark. It just something exploded, and I think England lost their heads.
Yeah.
And Klaasen's back foot play and just the effortless power he generates is
Mm,
incredible. How he's coming into his own last 1 year, I think. Earlier, he
right.
used to come as a backup keeper, I remember, to Decock, right? But one of the very strong and the bowling also lining up. Maharaj is giving
Correct.
you that, and the pace. This Gerald Coetzee we discussed, he's giving you that very good third pacer. And
Correct.
the two fast bowlers also very good. So all in all, this is a
And I
complete
like that they've given Ngidi the new ball, right?
yes.
Now, by conventional wisdom, you would think Rabada gets the new ball, but they
Mm,
realize Ngidi is best with the new ball, and Rabada has so much quality that he
first
can come
change.
in even first change and get wickets. So, I mean, kudos. They've really, really, made a good plan coming into this tournament. It's all about everything coming,
Together.
together for them when the knockouts start. That's when their
Yes.
bane is, right?
I
Yeah.
think the best knockout would be India versus South Africa in a semi. I think one country will be happy finally. कि ठीक है हम
Yeah.
आगे निकल गए. I think
Yeah.
that's it. So
Possible
the
final also. You never know,
also
right?
final.
Yeah.
So we'll have a dress rehearsal next Sunday, no, with India South Africa. So very good match to test where we stand in terms of strength. So this is the second best team, which I think is definitely coming into the top four
Mm.
with the strength and bases covered. And then coming to the balance teams, now the fourth slot is where we think a lot of muddle is going to happen, and that has opened up because England is losing everything, and Pakistan is obviously going to be in the mix right till the end. Australia, as you predicted, champions pedigree, and I think they woke up against Pakistan, and that was a tough win. I think Pakistan also didn't play so well, but their approach in batting, I think, showed why they are the champions and how they are not going to just lie down and get out of the World Cup. So now it's 2-2, 2-4, and I remember we there was this meme you sent me, I think, right, where Vijay
Yeah.
Raj on the road, there was the beggar. So this is a
Yeah.
movie called Run, and Vijay Raj has all these skits which are very funny. They're the best part of the movie. So Vijay Raj is lying on the floor of the beggars, and Vijay Raj is Australia, and there was Afghanistan, and there was,
Yeah.
and he gets him and says, "ये मैं कहाँ हूँ, किसके साथ आ गया हूँ?" type. So it was genuinely that last week back, and now you see the table, they're number four, and the net
Yeah.
run is better than Pakistan also. So this team is definitely going to now go ahead and be a contender for the fourth slot. I Pakistan has waken up the monster. Sadly, वहाँ पे if they had defeated them, हमें ही help होता, सबको help होता. So you see. What do you see them like? Any other challenges for them? Because they did play the big
Uh,
teams also. They have very weak
yeah.
teams coming up.
Correct. Australia, I think, is going to be a big contender for the number four spot, right? Because if you see, they have games against Bangladesh, they have games against Netherlands, Afghanistan. So
Mm.
that you should, back Australia to win those. They'll get to 5 wins, and then they have to beat one between New Zealand and England, right?
England.
And looking at the way things are happening right now, I think they'll win the game against England. So Australia is looking good for the number four spot. They might have to take a call on one between Smith and Labuschagne now, right?
Head is
Because
coming.
correct, if Head comes back very
Mm.
soon, because Warner and Marsh are looking superb at the top. It's that middle order where they have to get runs,
Some power.
and the heartening them for the thing for them is Zampa's return, right? Last
Mm.
two matches he's got 8 wickets, four wickets in both the Sri Lanka and the Pakistan games, and Cummins also is getting those wickets in the middle overs. So and Hazelwood has been superb, right? I mean, he's bowling at all stages of the inning. So a lot of things coming together to for Australia. We still not say they're at their best. I think they're playing at 60-70% capacity, right?
Okay.
When 100% Australia comes back, then we'll have a
Then they
fight
come
on
back.
our hands. Yeah.
So yeah. And we'll finish up with England, which is one of the aberrations of this tournament. And one thing I remember in a previous was we were all gaga over the batting, right? This batting is going to be 400, 450, banate rahenge. Bowling, I remember we discussed that for Indian conditions, they don't have the bowlers who will take wickets. Like Rashid ko chhod ke, and we predicted Wood will be good, but Wood has really been bad this World Cup. So they're really struggling on the bowling. And now you see that team is breaking because they keep making changes. I mean, last game pe they dropped Livingston, played five bowlers, dropped Curran. And any reason you've read or heard why is Moeen Ali not playing? What happened there?
That's weird, right? Actually, I
Yeah,
think when we did our previews, he was one of the first names on our sheet, right?
exactly.
Because quality player of spin, one,
Hmm.
and quality off spin. You see how Dhoni uses him in CSK, right?
Exactly.
So we are very surprised. And what this World Cup has shown is this is a World Cup of specialists, right? Both
Yeah.
Australia and England have brought in so many all rounders, and the all rounders are actually struggling. It's the
Hmm.
specialists who are doing well. So England has to take a big call. The way things stand, I think we'll have to be brutal enough to say England is knocked out, right? Because
Hmm.
even if they win all the 5 matches, which is tough because they still have to play India, they have to still play Australia, they have to still play Pakistan, they have to still play Sri Lanka.
Hmm.
Right? Everybody's discounting Sri Lanka, but they
Yeah.
still have to
Well,
play them. So, and let's say hypothetically, they go and win all those 5 matches. What do you do about the net run rate? Right? It's at minus
hmm.
1.24 right now. So, England, I think do you think a grueling schedule like they had 5 Ashes tests, both England and Australia?
Hmm.
Then England played a lot of one days. They played New Zealand. Australia again played a lot of one days against South Africa. Do you
Hmm.
think that has impacted these two sides?
It does, but majority of these series they played, they were playing with their B teams. So I won't say they were
Hmm.
playing at full strength. So they cannot cite tiredness. I mean, Ashes takes a
Hmm.
toll on you mentally, physically. I get that, but that was long back, right? It's not that recent. And all the ODI series, if you remember, England was playing Ireland just I think 1 or 2 weeks before the World Cup. Joe Root
Yeah.
went for that practice. एक match खेल के वो भी आ गया था. So they keep playing this, but honestly, they aren't playing their full strength teams anywhere. So they should be refreshed. I think they we just discount didn't take the bowling too seriously. I mean, we were all hyping
Yeah.
up in terms of England conditions. They're very good bowlers. Vokes is a brilliant bowler in the
Correct.
back of the link bowling he does. But here he's get murdered, and that's when IPL also is not great, right?
Correct.
So we also overestimated the bowling. I think they also did, and now it's coming back to haunt them. And the way South Africa beat them, I think that broke them. I mean, the kind of hitting done in the last 10 overs, I doubt they'll come back from it. And they don't have
Correct.
options, so they've played all their bowlers. You
Topley
see,
also is injured now, right? I
he's
mean,
gone.
he was
Yeah,
the
and
only guy who was looking good actually.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know who is in the reserves. I'm not very
Yeah.
sure.
And apparently Jofra is not making a comeback from what I've heard.
कहाँ
So
से इंग्लैंड में होता ना वो रिजर्व
correct,
में भी नहीं है
correct,
हाँ.
correct. So
So yeah. So yeah, it looks and Topley was the best bowler.
hmm,
You're right. He
hmm,
was the
hmm,
one getting wickets, and he looked a bit threatening with the bounce and all, something like Jansen. So now they have nothing going for them. Let's hope the batting works out because that's the only thing they were banking on, and they get some favorable pitches and get 400 runs, and hopefully your bowling can stick. And they need to get Moeen Ali somehow. I mean, that's so elementary. I mean,
hmm.
CSK is a bona fide CSK legend now. You're not using his experience who plays IPL every year under Dhoni, and yeah, very shocking. I mean, that is where I think they made the biggest mess till now in not
Yeah.
using a skill set. So yeah, I think one of the surprises of the World Cup that England is not going to make it to top four. So that gives a chance for a new world champion. So let's see. Hopefully, it's us.
Yeah.
If not, then yeah, maybe New Zealand. I feel bad for them at times.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay, folks. So, on that note, we had a great discussion today. Obviously, the India New Zealand one was the big one, but then we could also focus on the other teams, how they did well this week. And it's a very interesting week coming up now, right? 4 more weeks, left in the World Cup. All the crunch matches will start now. So, a lot of teams could mess up here. A lot of teams could suddenly awaken, like what we saw Australia, rise in this last week. So a lot of good matches to look forward to. India still has to play England, South Africa, Sri Lanka, and Netherlands. So hope we continue this unbeaten run, and we'll catch you next week, hopefully with a lot more interesting insights. So till then, take care, stay safe, and do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Your views, your thoughts mean a lot to us, and we look forward to much more love from all of you. So until the next video, take care and stay safe. Bye bye.
thank you.